Welcome to Cruising Altitude, the podcast where we rise above the turbulence of life and step into the freedom, clarity, and luxury of living life at our highest level. I'm Kelly O'Shea, business development consultant, private jet advisor, investor relations specialist, author, solo mom, and living proof that you can crash into life's turbulence, pick up the pieces, and still arrive in style. Whether you're navigating business, healing, or building a life that feels limitless, this is your boarding pass to living a life you were brave enough to chase. So buckle up, we're ready for takeoff. Welcome back to Cruising Altitude. I'm your host, Kelly O'Shea, and this is episode 8, Repeating the Cycle. And I'm so excited to be joined today by my middle school bestie, Melissa Shelton. Melissa, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So I haven't seen, prior to this summer, I hadn't seen Melissa since junior high. So this was in Northern Virginia in the early 90s. We were in junior high together, and we have some really memorable times from back then.
We do.
And
we do.
It's so beautiful because, you know, Melissa now has 3 children. I have Dylan, so her youngest is close to Dylan's age, and we, part of what I was trying to do as an act of self-care this year before I started dating was really to invest more in friendships and in being more vulnerable with the book. People who haven't known me, who only knew what they see on the surface, they were feeling like they could talk to me and be honest with me, right? So I have a lot of friends that have moved to Florida actually this year. So, we were on a budget this year. So I took the summer to really go visit these friends. And I had some friends that weren't doing really well, some friends that had admitted to me that they had relapsed or, and for me, it was just, nice to be able to go up and to see you and and to just reconnect and to feel like nothing had ever changed since junior high. Yeah. So there's, for me, the past probably 20 years, I have really felt like I had to really perform. Being Kelly, the publicist, the people pleaser, this fancy life that I'm, the luxury lifestyle world that I work in, that you see on social media. But, Melissa knows the real me underneath the facade. And so, and I think that's for anyone. I think that's the best thing that for me with social media, that it's been able to reconnect with people.
Yeah.
Because there's just this comfort, where you can take the mask off, I knew she was coming yesterday and I'm in between Halloween and Christmas decorating. So
and you knew I wouldn't care.
I know. It wouldn't even matter if there were still bins. But
right.
Me from 10 years ago would have been like, oh my God. Yeah. In an earlier.
Paint the picture.
Yes. Yeah. I told you about my friend Blakely who had come on that was like, oh my God, there are so many pumpkins here. But then she realized after reading my book that it was not about the pumpkins. It was about keeping up the facade.
Yes.
And you walked into that house in Connecticut and it was like Facebook exploded. There were all these pictures. Me and Charles, we're happy. Look at us. We're happy.
On the beach.
Family.
Look at our son.
Exactly.
Aren't we cute?
Pouring out emotional messages every anniversary, birthday, Christmas, my heart about him. But put so much effort into that message, but would never even put that into face to face with him, right?
Yeah, the relationship. You're investing in the story, exactly. Not the relationship, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So
many people do that.
Yeah.
So many, especially on social media.
Exactly.
That's the picture that you get. And, we spoke to each other through that, but you saying, hey, I'm just going to come there. I was like, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you were so authentically you that it was just easy to be around you.
Well, you had said, how do I get a signed copy? And to be honest, not a lot of people asked. Not a lot of people even showed up for the launch. I mean, it's just something I've been realizing too is that I have done a lot of things on my own. And that unfortunately is a result of my trauma. My childhood is so many people let me down in my life that I had to just learn to do everything myself. So to the point that where support felt foreign. But so I finally learned to do that. So when you said that, I was so happy too. I'm like, let's lean into the people who actually care, who are paying attention, who've asked me for a signed copy. I'm going to go make an effort to go see them and to bond and to connect. And it was so beautiful because, I didn't know. I mean, I thought also it's nice to be around you because you've been with your husband for so long. You're one of the few who actually does have a
sweetheart.
Successful marriage though, which is, but you're honest about it, that it takes work. It reminds me that this is why I do it. And it's hard now because I am so busy with sales and I'm really still trying to make things happen because I'm in transition. But it reminds me how much more I want to focus on the book and my purpose with that. And the more support I get in my life, Again, I haven't really dated yet, but I'm starting to do that with the friends that I surround myself with and the
Right.
coworkers that I surround myself with. Take support. Let them tell me that, like, maybe I have too much on my plate and I should take something off. And instead of me thinking, they're just jealous because they can't do this, I'm thinking, no, wait, maybe they actually care. Maybe they just don't want me to have a nervous breakdown. Right? And so learning how to just reconnect, I think it's so important for us as moms, too, because we can lose ourselves in our kids.
Absolutely.
And
so many moms do that. And then, they just become the picture that's on Facebook, the
Right.
story that's on Facebook, and there's really nothing behind the person.
Right.
So the true testimony isn't the stuff that you're posting on social media. It was, you coming to my house, us sitting there talking all night, and being able to reconnect on like an authentic level.
Right.
It wasn't the pictures anymore. It was Kelly.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
getting to read this book at the same time, it's Kelly as I remembered her, but Kelly on this incredible journey.
Yeah.
It was so nice to see that transformation, but then to see it in person
Yeah.
was, really inspirational. It really was.
Thank you. And, it's, again, so nice just to be able to reconnect and to also feel validated by a lot of the stuff I went through because, I am not speaking with my family and it's hurtful. And I think a lot of people, it's easy for them to say, but they're your parents. And it's like, yeah, but even you, when you read the book, you said you gave them so much grace in the book. And it's true.
So much grace.
So for them to come over my house 2 months ago after the book, my father came over in September and we really took a defensive stance, calling me a liar, saying it's all my fault that he doesn't talk to Colleen. And I could tell as soon as he wouldn't even sit down on the couch. He sat on the edge. I was like, this isn't going to be a good conversation. So immediately this new version had to show up and be so tough because he wouldn't even let Dylan talk. And I was like, no, he matters. And then I couldn't even do the goodbye because it was so hurtful for little Kelly. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, goodbye, Dad. And then he's like, I'm sorry that it had to end this way. And I'm like, I'm sorry you couldn't be the father that I needed. The lack of support I got from them the past 5 years was so hurtful. I couldn't mourn the loss of them. At the same time, I mourned the loss of my husband. I waited a little while, hoping it would get better. But the whole time last year when I was editing this book, they kind of took the stance of like, well, I'm so glad that you're getting help for your problems. Like zero accountability. And then when my mom first read the book, it was like, oh, I never had 3 bottles.
Like that was, the one thing she got out of that. Not,
Seriously?
All of the rest of it. Like that one tiny detail must have really offended her.
Right.
It's just crazy.
But again, and I want to kind of set the stage a little bit because, in the first chapter, it kind of dives right into the trauma, but in setting the stage for a lot of people can relate. So this was junior high was 1992, 1993 for us.
Yep.
Early 90s. And this was I think a lot of parents everywhere, and this is the grace I was giving my parents. Parents everywhere were doing well. And I wrote in the book, neglecting children everywhere. Actually, here, let me read this part. Because it's not like I was abused physically, right? Not much. My mom and I started swinging later in high school, but it wasn't we weren't poor. So I wasn't
you weren't covered in bruises.
Literally. Exactly.
You didn't have holes in your clothes. Yeah.
Right. I learned to manipulate them when they were drinking at Clyde's in the Reston Town Center. So I'd take the credit card and go shopping. So it's I'm fine, right? So I wrote in here that, because I did the emotion code at Hippocrates Wellness, and I write this in the book, and that's what it pulled out these emotions that don't belong to me. They belong to other, generationally. These are emotions that just don't belong to us anymore, and we have to release them. So I wrote that overwhelm sank in for me at the age of 12, between 92 and 93 during 7th and 8th grade. My sisters were 22 and 24, and we had been living apart from them for 2 years now. My shit seemed insignificant within the family structure, right? And then my parents were both working big jobs. We were living outside of Washington, D.C. Parents everywhere were doing well. They were celebrating life and neglecting children everywhere.
Yeah.
So I wrote, the environment was ripe for me to start escaping. And this is crazy because that little girl in the other room, your youngest, is 11.
I know.
So as I write this, I'm
You're a year
12.
older.
Okay, so the environment was ripe for me to start escaping. Cigarettes, marijuana, and alcohol were like teenage pacifiers for me. I quickly discovered that those substances actually calmed the chaos in my mind and offered some relief. Thank God. But then, this is the thing that happened though. My penchant for drugs and alcohol made it too easy for my mom to continue to deflect from her mental health issues. So she would blame me, the substances, my teenage angst, my father's business travels, everything. Oh, the change. For a decade, my father was like, oh, she's going through the change. Okay. Exactly. And so now that I'm here now that I'm a mother, it's like, okay, the gig is up, lady.
Right.
Just take some accountability. We can go back to being friends. All I want you to do is take accountability, not like, oh, I'm so
Not
sorry that you
blame.
feel this way.
Constant blaming.
This
and
constant
deflecting.
blame. And then when I wrote, she would come home from work around 5, go straight for the bottle of Chardonnay. She drank 2 bottles a night. She fell down the stairs often. And I quickly learned how to manipulate them when they were drinking. They seemed really happy when they were out at a restaurant or bar. The sweet spot was 3 drinks in, and I would ask my dad for his corporate credit card to go shop at the Gap or Banana Republic and the rest in Town Center, where his company Molson was based while they drank at Clyde's. And I said it was the least they could do for me. But then I wrote, shiny things will temporarily numb your pain. So will cigarettes, booze, drugs, and cute boys. But they will all leave you lower than they found you. So that kind of, after that became, all of that was my escape. It was jumping. And then I think I even used that later in life with my work, right? My business. It was like things weren't really working. Charles wasn't exactly like the one. It wasn't this blown up romantic knock you off your socks love that I thought I was going to get. So it was like, well, let's just busy myself and do all these other things and paint the picture like it's perfect.
So you don't have to look at it, right? It's so that you don't have to look at it, you know, which is the same thing that you did as a kid.
Right.
You know, like I'll go shopping at Cap. I'll do all of these things so I don't have to look at what's really going on or sit in that pain.
Exactly.
You know, the same thing happened as an adult. Like you just adopt those defense mechanisms and you wouldn't have adopted it if it didn't work for you.
Exactly.
It worked for you. But it, like you said, left you feeling empty.
Feeling more empty inside, right? And I noticed that about myself. Even 5 years ago when I was still drinking and I first got life insurance, it was like, ooh, I can finally go buy this bag or whatever. And it like felt good in the moment, but immediately buyer's remorse. Even with money in the bank, I got the buyer's remorse. Like, do I really need this? Is this smart? And so, you know, in that sense, I'm so grateful. This past 2 years have been so challenging to transition. Like even like separating from Charles, him dying, all that was tragic, but all like really in the early 2024 when I lost Magellan Judson, really separated from my parents. I mean, that was when I really felt like the floor had fallen out from underneath me because they were my consistent client. It was almost like being in-house, right? It was that consistency. And then, you know, with my parents, and then that was when I finally realized I had to start to really grieve the loss of them. Like it was time. And again, I had projected my whole life. And I think, like, onto them, I've always wrote, like, these, like, really nice cards and everything. I never got that back. And, like, I just, like, and the thing that was most hurtful for me was, like, again, when Charles passed, and it was kind of like, you were leaving him anyway, was their take. Like, why are you going to the funeral? I'm like, oh, my God, this is my son's father.
Where's the support?
Right.
You know, where's the love?
Right. And, like, you know, my sister saying she's going to blow all the life insurance, but never thinking like, oh, let me just get her a financial advisor or something. Like no one was there when I was, very hungover, going through lots of paperwork, crying on the floor all by myself. There's no reason for that. That is so sad for me, for younger me. I feel so bad for her that there's nothing. And it's shocking to me that my parents, after the book, that my dad took that stance, that he didn't come over with like a giant hug and say, I'm sorry, which makes me realize he didn't go past the second chapter. And he said, he goes, I skimmed it. Like, seriously? Your daughter wrote 299 pages about her whole life. Like, you were just in the first couple of chapters, and then you skimmed it. Like, it's just so
no desire
hurtful.
to, like, learn about you or learn about how you got to where you got to.
They don't even see me. And that's what I was telling you last night. The hardest part with all this was going over there the last year and still trying to live in my mother's fake projected reality where I just sit there and I comment on her furniture moving like for the millionth time, or we talk about someone she hasn't talked about in like millions of years. And I'm like, wait,
but never yourself.
Never me. Never about the book or about my life
or even how she's doing. You
right,
know, like
exactly. It's never real connection. And then like the support.
Deflection.
My son lost a father. My dad always wanted a son. You would think he would have jumped in and like taken him to football and basketball. Not once did they go to practice, but they shamed me for being late for things.
Right.
And then like they'll come over my house for pretend like dinners where I'm supposed to like cook after all this, and then they'll shame me for not having certain utensils or things. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to like do a lot of
what's
this
wrong
stuff.
with you, Kelly? Why aren't you playing the role? Why aren't you playing the role that we made up for you? You know,
Exactly.
They don't
It's
know
so
what to do with
ridiculous.
authentic Kelly. Like they don't. They have no idea what to do with her.
No, and that, you know, it's so interesting. Even what you just said last night gave me so much validation, you know, like saying that, like, it's true. Like, I am in this transition still. And that's why I still have anxiety. It's not like I sleep well, thank God, but like the anxiety that, yeah, I'm a single mom and I have to do all this alone, like literally with no support.
And it's work.
Right.
It's work, you know, you don't get to where you've gotten to and say, oh, I'm here, this is my destination.
Right.
It's constant work because your go-to is going to go right back to where you were as a child. Like that's your comfort zone. That's where stuff is good, you know? So you're naturally going to try to drift back there. And it's a lot of work and it's exhausting to push against that.
Yeah.
And say, you know, no more. Like I'm going to take care of little Kelly now. And, you know, I'm going to tell her everything's okay and that it's okay to be me.
Right.
You know? And I think that's so brave.
And it's true. And it's even today, you know, with, you know, I talk a lot about the boys club and being in the boys club, and it is great. And there's times where I like that, but then there's times where you can just let the boys be boys and like let the girls be girls. Cause there's so much more I do get from like connection with the women. And that's the thing too. Like I might want to go chase the boys who are like literally racing to get their car from the boat show. They would have left me if I didn't keep up. And I'm like, what am I doing? And like, and then I'm getting messages from girlfriends, these beautiful things where it's weird for me at first. It's weird to say nice things. It's weird to get hugs. It's weird to say I love you, but it's so good once I can really let myself do that and get to that point, because I never grew up with that. I remember my sister saying to me, Kim, when she was first left the home around 16 and was living with other parents in Boston, that it was so weird for her that the mother was hugging on the daughters and like loving on them, because we never had that.
Right.
And
it's
so
foreign.
and again, all of this wasn't to like attack my parents. It was just for me to really like make sense of it all. And now I understand why they didn't want to help me make sense of the past, because it would have made them look bad. But I mean, this is what happens when you don't make sense of the past and you brush things under the rug. And because I needed to make sense of it. I drank too much. And when I lost my husband, I had to really face that and figure out why, what was underlying it.
Right.
Why was I going for these assholes? And then I realized, you know, that my mother is a narcissist. I mean, she is. And typically they get men that are like these codependent, and
So they can
emotionally avoidant.
Yeah, so they're able to feed their narcissism. Like you need food for that, you know? And so she created it, and she created it with her daughters. Yeah. You know, until you guys said no more.
Right.
You know, you're not going to feed off me anymore.
Right. And my sisters would say that she pitted them against each other because they're like 18 months apart. So because they didn't want her to gang up. And I remember certain times, very few times, we would have the whole family together because they're so much older than me and my sisters. But when the three of us would be together laughing in like a rental house or something, my mom would pace around. Like she'd be so uncomfortable. Like, are they going to gang up on me kind of thing? Right. And that's what I mean. It's like Colleen had always said, because like I don't talk to Colleen much. She is smart, very smart though, and she would say that like my mom's maturity level like never really passed like 14, and that's the problem. And so but and again, this isn't to shame my parents. I know that they are getting older, and again, if they would take some accountability, they would still have access to me, but they're not doing that, so it's unfortunate. I won't take I am now step here. I have arrived for little Kelly. I have become the little Kelly needed, and I'm saying no. Little Kelly wants to be romantic and sweet and nice and be loved, and she deserves that, but it's not going to come from the immediate family above. It's going to come from Dylan and below when he marries your daughter.
I know, right? I know, seriously.
And have like 4 babies. But funny. It can also come from family. Yeah. You know? And I mean, like, Eve, I'm so glad you guys are here, and we're already looking forward to like visiting over Christmas. Yes. Like, that's the good stuff.
Family's not always blood.
Exactly.
You know, it's who you choose. Right. You know, and you've chosen to do this with your life, which is amazing. Yeah. You know, I think that it's, like I said, super brave, you know, and having known you since you were 12, you know, your parents did a really good job of having you fake it. Yeah. You know, because I had no idea that all this was going on. So, like, once I read this, it was heartbreaking. Yeah. I felt bad for little Kelly. I felt bad that I didn't know as a friend that all of this stuff was going on. I thought it was great that your parents let you do anything. Right. Like, this is awesome. I'm going to go spend the night at Kelly's house because we can do anything. Yeah. We can get away with anything. You know, and as a kid, you think, oh, that's amazing. But you don't think about what's underneath it. Right. You know, and reading this was just eye-opening. It really was. And you think to yourself, how many kids are walking around there and, you know, with buried stuff under the surface, and it just all looks great on paper.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, that's kind of how our community was then, too. Everything looked great on paper.
Right. Well, and that's the thing in relating to the moms of the 90s like we are today, right? I mean, that's probably when that all kind of started, the Keeping Up with the Joneses. And I mean, probably earlier than that, I'm sure, like in the 80s. But I think it was a lot of parents and a lot of like pretending everything was fine.
Yes.
And if the child is acting out with drugs and alcohol, it's such an embarrassment to the family. And that's why I was never like allowed to get proper help or proper therapy, which was so sad.
That is sad.
And they were sad about, you know, like how it would make them look. All right, so let's see. Let me read another. Oh, so I wrote, I had a lot of doubt and uncertainty due to my upbringing. And all this was written like when I was 19, when I was starting to like reflect because I was away from the home, right? And I wrote that there were no feelings, no emotion, no praise in our household, only screaming and throwing things or false flattery given to play favorites or when the person was in an alcohol-induced state, which was my parents every single night.
Right.
And this is when they would use me as an entertainment source, not really caring or paying attention to what I was saying. And they never really encouraged me to dig deep inside myself to discover my true feelings. And when I did have a therapist, she called it dancing around the elephant, right? So like the elephant symbolizes one's emotions, and no matter how large or obvious they are, we're all dancing around them, pretending that's not even there.
Right.
Mostly because my mother couldn't handle it. That was so many things that it was like we had to monitor because my mom would fly off the handle. It's like you have to gauge her state before you even bring anything up. And that is exactly why I became such a people pleaser and so good at PR, because I could walk in and read everyone's emotional state, figure out exactly what version of me they needed for me to win whatever that was. And then it became this like game. But that's, again, a very empty life because no one's getting the real me. No one's seeing the real me.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm really doing great at faking it. And that is also what became my ammo when I drank in New York when I was doing PR. I mean, I would drink all the time. And like, yeah, but people wouldn't know. And it became a game. I'm like, oh my God, they have no idea. This is fantastic.
Yeah, aren't I so smart? Like, I've got them all fooled, you know?
Exactly.
And again, you kind of see behaviors that your mom possesses come out in your own self, you know? Like when you're not at your best.
Right.
When you are flailing around, you see those behaviors that you hated.
Yes, exactly.
Come right out of you, you know? Oh boy, and I smart. I got them all fooled. Like, look, I'm playing the role perfectly, you know? Which is exactly what she did. And that's scary.
Exactly. And it's the same thing like you pointed out too. Like, so with Charles, that was very much repeating the cycle. And no one in my family stepped in to like really sit down and explain that to me. But again, they made sure to shame me and shame how much we were traveling and drinking. And I can see that now, that it's like, whoa. I mean, yes, we were doing well, but we traveled like to the Caribbean from New York like every single month in 2013. Like, why? And we were literally a traveling shit show. We would frequently miss flights. I mean, I just can't believe I'm alive after all that drinking. But like they shamed it without realizing I was just exactly repeating the cycle. And Charles, that's why it got like, I think with him, it did get worse in a sense with me because he never stood up for himself. He never said what he wanted to do. So, and me being like my mother when I first got into marriage, of course, we got to do this. We got to go to every fall festival. Right. We got to live this Connecticut life. He was like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking shoot myself. Like the poor guy. Yeah. I feel bad. And I wish him and I mean, if we had met earlier in life, it would have gone so much differently because our authentic souls were really a good match. But it was too much of the mask having met in New York. And I mean, because that's just how it was. He hated it. He would drink so much when we would go to my events and I'd be like, hi, I'm Kelly O'Shea. Oh, hey, this is so-and-so from the Real Housewives. Like, he hated seeing that version of me. Yeah. So after a while I was like, okay, just don't go to my event. But it was just always something. And, you know, it's just a matter of not being able to face his demons. And it's sad. But
yeah, he didn't want to play the role.
Exactly. Right. No, he didn't. And but you know, what's really sad too, again, with my sister, I remember a time when Charles and I were in Vegas and our typical thing was that we would go out, we would get drunk, we would fight, and then I would stay out and like meet strangers and go out with them, and then he would wake up early and go out and like drink, and my sister was like, this is weird, so we're leaving early, where she should have taken me to breakfast and been like, what are we going to do about this? Your marriage is not like right. You know what I mean? There was never any of that. It was just this like shaming and blaming. And so that's why I think now in my life with friends, it's foreign to have them bring something up. And my immediate thought is they're jealous because that's what mothers will program you to think too. Because they don't want you to have friends. They'll make you think everyone's jealous of you.
And they don't want you to look at what is really behind that. Oh, no, no, they're just jealous. Exactly. You're perfect. Everything's fine with you. They're jealous. They're the problem. Yeah.
Or having friends. Like, I think even when I think I might have even mentioned that I had saw you, and I think my dad, like, saying in my defense, and my dad's like, oh yeah, like, she knows you, like, since it's so, like, rude.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's why they didn't want me to have friends, because then someone could come in and be like, this is fucked up.
This isn't right. Yeah, exactly. And as an adult, you can see it, As a kid, you couldn't see it.
Well, and that's what's clear as day. So Kim, my sister, never had children. Colleen did, and I did. And Colleen and I are the ones that are not talking to my parents. So that goes to show you. It's because not only they neglected and abandoned us, which we got over, but, like, our sons.
Yeah.
I mean, both of our sons have
level.
no fathers, because Colleen's husband walked out on her and doesn't talk to the kid anymore, which is so fucking hurtful, I'm sure, for my nephew. It's sad that we don't talk to them, because this has happened to one of my friends who I visited in Cape Cod. I dedicated the book to this woman, Linda Mahoney, who was like a second mother to me, and
you told me about
her
her,
grandson is having problems now. He's just lost. He's been through drugs and alcohol, over that, thank God. But at 19, he's just lost. But because his father cheated on his mom and then, like, walked out on the family, never talked to him again. And at 14, and prior to that, the dad was, like, active in football practice and everything. That's hard. So
he got stuck there.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that happens to so many people.
Yeah.
Like, going through that, you just get kind of stuck.
Yeah, explain that a little bit, because I thought that was interesting what you said last night.
Yeah. So, I believe that when people are traumatized by something, whether it be one episode of something happening or kind of your lifestyle like you, I think that they get trapped in that mental age.
Yeah.
That mental age is like how they cope, even as an adult. So when something triggers that, or you get scared, you automatically dial back, and that younger version of you is driving the boat, and you're not thinking with an adult mind. You're not making adult decisions. You're not speaking like an adult. You're speaking like a little girl who's been hurt.
Right.
And that's where you see adults act so defensive and, this just childish behavior come out of them, because it's not the adult them driving the boat. It's the child them.
Right.
And the only way to really get over that and become an adult is to tell that child that you're in charge now and you're going to take care of her.
Right.
You're going to be there for her like your parents weren't.
Right.
I'm going to take care of you. I've got this. I'm the adult. You can relax now.
Right.
You can just calm down now because I've got you.
Right. And I think that that's so important. And that's why I talk a lot about, and how boy crazy I was.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Early.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was another thing that would distract me, all the attention I would get from boys. I loved it. And I mean, it's still like that. When I first separated from Charles, I couldn't wait to go on Match.com. But so for the past 2 years, or this year in particular, not dating has been hard. I mean, because it's not like, I'm also completely changed careers into sales, which is always hard the first year or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, even little things like, having to, like, get a handyman, all these things I have to do on my own, because not only do I have no husband, but I have no family. So it's like almost ridiculous how much I've had to do on my own. And but again, I'm just now starting to manifest and, like, allow support, because I'm seeing, the advantage of that, because I think, it's not easy. But again, I'm proud of myself for going as long as I have without a significant other, because I know I settled for Charles. I did love him, but I brushed over the drinking problem, thinking maybe it would get better. And I wrote in the book that I rolled the dice. I did, and I have no regrets. But next time around, I'm not settling. I wanted to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, because that's not good for me or the guy. I was too needy, and I didn't like that about myself. And I didn't like that I'd be sad when they left, and I'd wonder when I was going to see them again. I didn't want to feel like that. And I did need to kill the hopeless romantic a little bit. Like, the projections were just too much.
Right.
It's one thing to manifest.
The story. You need to cut out the story.
It has to be this way.
Let it just kind of happen.
Exactly.
And had you jumped back into a relationship right after that, you would have never become authentic Free Kelly.
Right.
It would have always been a codependency. It would have always been, you being taken care of, not you taking care of yourself. So as painful as it was and is to be on your own, I don't know if you would have grown into the person that you are and that you are becoming.
Right. Definitely not.
If you latched on to somebody to fix it for you.
100%, because even, and it's not like I was like the damsel in distress, but the other thing I did
Right.
with Cliff, I noticed that I wanted to like be him. So it's like I would assume his identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what attracted me to him in the beginning, that everyone worshiped him and he was important. And it was like, oh, well, if I'm his girlfriend, then I'll be important. So then it was like I started liking the clothing brands he liked, the music he liked, everything. And so, you know, and I didn't want to do that either. I wanted to like figure out who I was.
Right.
And again, with Charles, yes, he kind of let me call the shots on the things that we would do, but the things we did was programming. It was all what I thought you're supposed to do when you get married. The last time we had like fun was probably before the wedding, really, because
Yeah.
everything was because we even fought at the wedding because, you know, and again, and it's just a combination of so many things. But, you know, and again, I mean, that is what happens, you know, when you do settle. And I know that too well now to know that
Yeah.
you're better off alone than surrounded by the wrong people.
For sure. And you were really like in a search for your identity.
Right.
You know, and so you were like the chameleon that you were as a child. Okay, I'll assume yours. Okay, I'll assume this
Yes.
identity. And you didn't know who you were. And you never would have if you didn't get out of that and
Right.
jump away from that and discover your identity on your own. I mean, how could you do that if you're with a person?
Exactly.
You know, you can't. You're going to go back to what you did as a kid
Mm-hmm.
inside of that little comfort zone that we always talk about. And you're going to just assume their identity because that's what you learn to do.
Right.
You know, so that work that it takes to step out of that is so necessary to become who you are and who you are going to become.
Right, and you were saying it last night, and again, that's why it's
Yeah.
so validating to be around people who really know you, because we forget. It's so easy for me to say I'm not where I want to be, but I forget how far I've come. And like,
Exactly.
not only because breaking the cycle was not only deciding to leave Charles, but that was so hard. I mean, I didn't want to, and he was
Right.
crying. He had just gotten back from like his 4th stint in rehab, and was like, he said like, no, don't break up this family. And I'm like, oh, it's not me breaking up the family. This
Right.
is you've been to rehab 4 times now. Come
Yes.
on. He's going to start to like see what Dylan's going to start to see. And it was so sad. And I didn't want to leave him. And I wrote this in the
course
book. I
not.
didn't know if I could do it on my own. And in Florida, you need first, last, and security. So again, just like I'm doing today, I kind of just put one step in front of the other. If
Yeah.
it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I got the townhouse. I was so proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we rebuilt from there. But even I remember those first holidays being so hard because I was drinking and he wasn't. I kind of wanted to get back together. I was so scared. And
Yeah.
so just giving myself grace for all that. And that, again, that's why people stay in. And I get it. They're
Yeah.
scared of exactly what I'm going through. But I mean, it is worth it to me. I'm so grateful that I found this best version of me, because my highest self, the best version of me is the only one that can tell little Kelly it's going to be okay. And my next
Exactly.
boyfriend can't do that.
She's got to be strong.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm excited for my next relationship. It'll be my first real one, you
Yeah.
know? And I mean, and that's why I haven't put a lot into it this year either, because I had to put so much into my new career.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also watching Dylan, and, you know, he's going to be 10. So he's kind of like, you know, getting into his own life now, where we really needed the past 5 years. He needed that.
Yeah.
He needed all of me.
And during that 5 years, you were so much in a survival mode.
yeah.
You know, and so when I look at you from the outside, you know, you're constantly going, because, you know, you've been in that mode for so long that I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And it's so important to just stop and pat yourself on the back
Right.
for what you have done,
Yeah.
you know, because you've come so far. So it's okay to like step out and take a little break every now and then and go, you know what? I did a really great job.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing a really great job. I mean, your son's proof that you're doing awesome things.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important for you to give yourself those kudos.
Yeah, thank you. I have been trying to like say, okay, since I've, you know, staying in Jupiter was really for Dylan, but then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to start to like lean into the community too. And because that was something my parents would always hang over me. Well, you know, my dad would say like, oh, who's going to watch the boy if, you know, you're not talking to your mother, or like, who's going to get the presents? It's just like, oh
Right.
my God. I said, it's like, I have to like, you know, do it on my own, but that's okay. But then you lean into friends and community, and they're
Right.
happy to help, and they love Dylan. Like all of his friends' parents love him. And so when I was on, 5 years ago when we went away for Thanksgiving, someone told me to read a book called The Council of Dads. And it just talked about how this man knew he was dying. And he set up like a council of dads for his daughter to help raise her if
Aw.
his wife didn't want a relationship right away. And so I was so happy they told me that, because then it took the pressure off of me. It was like, right, I can find men in the community, your husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people that are always going to be in our lives.
Right.
And that's better for Dylan, because what I noticed 2
Yes.
years ago, and I write this in the book, where I dated Carolyn's ex, Tony, for a little while, long long distance, but Dylan was only 7, and it was a good relationship for what it was. It was just long distance, and he wasn't ready to quit being a fireman in New York and coming down here permanently. And so it was hard. We both cried. Dylan cried when it was over, and I was like, we can't do this because we have an abandonment wound.
Yeah.
So, and I need to switch it up too. And for me, allow myself now to go date. And once I really like someone, then let them meet Dylan. That's better that way.
It's smart.
Right. And now he doesn't even care as much as he did 2 years ago because they changed. Now he's more about his friends. And like you said, he just wants me to be happy. So.
Yes, absolutely.
But I also know for a fact that I never would have written this book if I got back together with Cliff or like any of the people that I dated when I first got, separated from Charles. So I am, I'm really grateful.
I think that having this was a key.
Yes.
It was a key to open the door, and then now you're walking through that door and walking the life. But you needed the key to get it unlocked. You
exactly.
did. And I think that this was so therapeutic for you.
Yeah, and you, even just, for me to show up as the younger version of me, right? Like, I wrote about this, after reading through old journals, it's clear to see how history repeats itself. What I went through with Brian was exactly what I went through afterwards with Cliff and every guy who has come into my life since then. And I also realize now that if I hadn't gone through the things I did, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Right.
You have to experience everything to discover what you want and who you are. Otherwise, whatever path you'll choose, you'll always feel like you're missing out on something, right? Like every person brings a lesson on how to improve the next time. The trick is to get up out of the shit quickly and not unpacking and living there and letting it destroy you so you can get your rose.
Yeah.
But then, the other thing, let's see. When my mom, so the other thing was going to my parents. So parents today can relate to this because we are all very busy still in our 40s and 50s, right? We're at the peaks of our career. So, again, I have some friends that are like, well, tell me about the state of your mom when you ask this, because this is important. It says, when I once told my mom that I had depression, she said, no, you don't. I used to try to bring up the eating disorder. They brushed it off like it wasn't serious, or it was California, and that I didn't need therapy. It was a waste of money. And, she would say, I was trying, to get over Brian, and she was just, and she would say oh, just get over him. I'm sick of hearing about him. And so, just things like that, but never sitting down and saying, let's talk. But to your point, it makes so much sense. It wasn't fitting the narrative. That's why she couldn't sit down. It was just get over him. This does not fit in my narrative.
Exactly. Let's pretend like it didn't happen. You know, just move on with it. Don't explore the feelings that you might have. Ignore all of those. Stuff those down.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not having the time. And I think that's something I try to be so with Dylan. When last week when he didn't even tell me that he was sick and he went to school so sick, I felt so bad. He's like, I just didn't want, I knew you had a big day. And I'm like, honey, you're more important to me than anything. You know, anything. Even he's the reason why I realized I didn't even want to go in-house with Magellan Jets for their low ball offer anyway, because it involves so much travel away from him. And I think, he needs me, and he's just so sweet. But anyway, it made me realize how grateful I am to again have done the work, because we are like our parents and we have to work on those parts. My mom didn't work on herself, so we have to face these shadows, these parts of ourselves. And I've been working on not being so reactive, right? And so it's things like that, because if I was sick back then and my mom was going through a crazy day and I brought it up, I'd be in trouble or shamed.
I was going to say, what would it have meant to you at that age for your mom to have said what you said to Dylan?
Right. Exactly.
You would have been confused probably.
Right.
What? It's okay. I'm important to you.
Right. I come first.
Right.
And so yeah, and it makes so much sense, even why I went into this job in PR, because it's just a total people pleasing position. Anything I can do to make other people happy, and how I've had such a hard time with myself on social media and promoting my personal brand. I'm well, I just still introduce myself as a jet broker, but I also wrote a book, and I downplay it.
Right.
Because I think
you really do.
I know.
You really do.
It's I forget. It's I just wrote a book, but it's because my family again has never really acknowledged, and that's what I wrote about, the dancing and around the elephants. The same kind of thing I felt today. It's I could literally walk into her house, my head could be cut off, or I could be president of the United States, and she'd be can you move out of the way? I'm trying to ask your father what he wants for dinner.
Oh God.
So it's just a matter of, it's just not being seen. And I think, parents today, I think it's just a matter of about also just, slowing down.
And I'm sure that, something probably happened when they grew up where they received that message as well, and then they carried it on to you. But you sitting there and telling Dylan, hey, you matter.
Right.
Like, I really care about you, stops that. So when he has children one day, our grandchildren.
Yes, exactly.
When they have our grandchildren, he's going to pass that down to his kid.
Right.
So you're where it stopped.
Right.
Which is amazing. That's such a hard thing to do.
Well, and even with the business, I remember saying to him, and I always listen for his advice because like kids, they know more than we give them credit for, and they have no filter.
Yeah.
So that's why I was so offended when my dad came over and was like, no, he didn't even want to hear Dylan talk. And I was like, no, he matters. And what he said was like, Grandpa, you don't deserve the things that she says to you. You don't deserve that. It was so sad because kids see things.
So empathetic. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's so sad. So, I mean, but with him, he told me when I said, all right, I can just kind of blow this all up and like kind of just go and get, Social Security and rebuild my life. And I go, it's going to be hard though. We're going to have to be on a budget. He goes, Mom, you started your business with nothing but a vase of quarters. You can do it again. And it was like, I'll never forget the sweetest look. Like he just believed in me, and that's all we need.
Yeah.
And like, I remember in the beginning, it's so sad, but I remember he's such an angel. Even at 3.5, I was murmuring, like, I don't think I can do this. And he was like, yes, you can, Mommy. I love you. I don't want to go to Daddy's. And what an angel he is, and what a blessing. And that's the thing too, like I just said, this year is the first year where he's like going off to be with his friends, and that's a normal thing.
It is.
I didn't really want to separate that. He was like my little stalker until this year.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it goes so
Your biggest
fast.
fan,
It's so quick that they'd rather be with their friends, and that you're annoying, even when you're really cool. I'm like,
yeah, right. I know, I'm a cool mom.
Yeah. But it goes so quick, and I wanted that time with him,
Yeah.
and I wanted to enjoy that. And I know that our bond, that'll carry us through so much. And he needed that too. He needed to know he could depend on me.
And, having studied child psychology and working with kids and everything, you have to understand that as much as you want to believe, like, Dylan just fell out of heaven and was just born this way and this is how he was, he learned it. That's learned behavior.
Right.
And he learned it from you. Yeah. So all of those things that you see that make you in awe of him, he learned that because you gave him that.
Yeah.
You gave him what your parents never gave you.
Right.
You righted a wrong.
Yeah.
So again, going back to take credit.
Yeah.
Take credit for that, because he's an amazing kid because of what you put into him and what you fed him. They come out little blank slates.
Right.
It's what they're programmed to do, and his responses were programmed by you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I do. And that, again, what's seen me through this year is like really my gratitude practice. And I thank God for, God will only give you what you can handle. And so I thank God for deeming me capable enough of raising this child by myself, because, that then he sees me, then, God sees me. And then that's what I mean with Dylan. Maybe it wasn't enough to me in my mind, like just like a kid and the dog and the house and the car. But now that I've lost everything else, it's my gratitude practice. Thank God for my health, my son, my dog, my house, my car. That's all I've needed. I've lost a lot of other things, but I've rebuilt, and I've learned that that's all that matters. And that will stick with me for the rest of my life too. You learn what matters. And that has helped me to also not be so reactional. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Nothing is a big deal. Nothing is the end of the world. And it's not worth my family, my mom's side, of course, because of all that's where the panic comes from, her side, and this anxiety and heart problems, and I don't want that. And to your point, taking care of ourselves, since showing up for little Kelly, yes, I know I do a lot. I'm able to now be like, okay, like we need like a day where we just turn our phone off and not. And I look back at what I was doing when I was starting my business on a vase of quarters 15 years ago. And again, I give myself a lot of credit because I was doing all that like drunk, but like with like not a good sleep, not good food. And so now I'm doing a lot, but I'm also making sure I sleep 8 hours and I'm taking care of myself. Exactly.
And I love hearing that you go to the beach and do your yoga at the beach. That's awesome.
I know, because you have to enjoy your life. And that's the thing I have to remember, because I was always so go, go, go. I'm living in answered prayers. So, I mean, I wanted Dylan so bad. I wanted to move to Florida. And all these things that other people don't have, like I told you, I have friends now that never had kids. So that I never lose sight of that. I'm so grateful grateful I got to have that. And again, living here, there's a lot of people that are not happy in the up north. You know,
for sure.
you
I was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me what you think about Florida since
I
you've been
love
back.
it. I absolutely love it. It's like living on vacation. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And like, you know, there's so many places to go. You know,
Right.
so even on our way back, we're going to go to Cocoa Beach and see Cape Canaveral. There's just so much to do.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't beat the weather.
Exactly.
Kind
Yeah.
of awesome.
So
Doesn't
that-
suck.
No, and I mean, like, there's just so much to do, and that was the thing for me too. Like, again, with my picture perfect, I thought that, you know, I had to raise a family in the Northeast, that was the only way to go. But
Right.
I've been so pleasantly surprised with South Florida and even the public school system.
It's
you know?
amazing.
It's really good. And Dylan's in AMP math, and again, I have a meeting this week for his future in the gifted program because they really hold your hand throughout the whole process. And then if he stays in AMP, he gets like a full ride Bright Futures, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that program's
mean,
amazing.
and-
You know, and college is so affordable here. And
Right.
there's really great schools here.
Right.
Yeah, I was so impressed with it. I thought the same thing. I thought, you know, I really want to move to Florida, but we'll maybe do it when we retire.
Yeah.
So the kids can finish school here.
Right.
But when I did a deep dive into it, the school systems here are much better. They have better ratings. The kids have, you know, more of a chance to go to university. More kids end up doing that. It's awesome. And Marley's in high school.
Yeah.
You know, so her pathway to graduation's like already set up. You know, she's able to take classes in high school where she can get credits into college and almost go into college as a sophomore. You know, those were things that weren't available.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I mean, yeah, and I've also been pleasantly surprised with how much like everyone decorates. Wait till you see Christmas. It's
Oh
like,
my
really
gosh, I
fun
was
down here.
blown away by Halloween.
I know.
You know, people like really go all out.
They do, because most people aren't from here, and I think that's probably, especially moms, that's their biggest concern. Like, oh, but it's going to be warm for the holidays. Will it even feel like it? So it's almost like they overcompensate.
Right. But hey, it's warm enough that you can spend that time outdoors actually decorating, not freezing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Well, we're excited to see you for Christmas, and thank you
Yes.
for coming. It's been so nice to reconnect with you. I love you.
Aw, I
Thank
love
you.
you.
It means a lot to me, and just for you seeing me, and it's just, you know, after all this and getting all this out there, yeah, it just means a lot. It means a lot to me to have a good friend again, and friends that can be like family, and it feels good. And I know for the first time in my life, I won't sabotage it, right? Because
Yes.
that's also what we do, unfortunately.
Yes.
And I realized that that's what I did. So not only was I was kind of like repelled by like the nice guys. Like you were looking at
Yeah.
you were like, did you go to Cotillion? And I'm like, no. I went to like an Army Navy dance, but of course that was another example of a nice guy who I ran away from.
Yep.
And it's the same with friends. So it's like, again, and then I noticed what I would do when I would drink too much. I would be like a really angry, mean drunk, and I would like really try to like push my friends away. I remember one of them saying to me once, like, this is your last chance. You're an angry drunk. And so again, having to work on all that, but that was self-sabotage. These friends that
sure.
were loving me and nice on
You
me.
didn't feel like you deserved it.
Exactly. So that's a big part of it. And that's a lot I've been learning about with meditation too. It's like preparing your, even though I'm not where I want to be yet, it's been a lot of preparing my vessel to receive the blessings.
Right.
Because when you come from the past, like I did, if you don't think you deserve it, you're gonna sabotage it. So, so
Yep.
yeah, so it's been good. So, but thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad that you asked me to do this.
Okay, and
It's
we'll
an
see you
honor.
soon, girl.
I love you.
Love you.